It's not a feeling that, oh, I hate my husband and I hate my kids.
No,
Like, it's not like that. It's just
not like that.
yeah.
I think, yeah. And this is like, I love this conversation because that's what I'm realizing too, is there is a type of person and particularly a type of woman who knows she wants more, like that knows she's maybe not living her purpose, but doesn't know it.
So I try and help people that feel stuck, and either that they don't think that they want, they don't think they could have more from their lives, or they're just on all autopilot. And so, so trying to sort of that piece about letting people know that they can have more, that more is possible and you don't have to be on autopilot. And then the second part of that is helping them achieve the goals and the life that they want to lead. So the reason that I do that is because I've been there. Basically I'm trying to help me 5-10 years ago, where I was stuck in the rut. I just thought this is what life looked like. I had no idea that there could be more. And if I ever thought there was more, I thought it was for other people. So basically that unstuck whole focus area for me is just speaking to me back then and hoping that no one else has to go through that, helping people that feel that way.
Totally. Yeah.
And I feel from reading your content and listening to your bits and pieces that might be a story that resonates with you a little bit. Is that true?
Yeah, it absolutely does. It really does. I mean, I think that's everything that's sort of pouring out of me now is that ode to a few years ago. Things I wished I'd known, things I wished I could have done. And it's like, I feel the same way. If I can help one person become unstuck, I love that word, unstuck, based on what I went through, then it's, that's beneficial, that's enough. And it's really, for me, I worked for 25 years in the hospitality industry, and I completely wore myself out being a mum, being a working mum. And I just worked and worked and worked and worked. And I climbed the corporate ladder and I just kept going and pushing myself. But I always knew I wanted more, but I didn't know what more was. And so if I look back now, I was completely stuck. And I just had this thing, and I don't know if I live in America, but I'm from England originally. And I don't know if it's the British part of me or what, but like I always had a smile on my face. I never would let people know, what was going on internally. And for so many years, I was deeply miserable inside. Not with, like, I loved my husband, loved my kids, all of that was fine, but it was like there was something internally that I wasn't doing. And it was for me, it was like tapping into what is it that I really want in my life. And I couldn't verbalize it. There was just this sadness that was there. And yeah, long story short, in 2020, I got furloughed from my job in corporate America. And that was when I was like forced to stop and forced to really look at my life and go, wow, this is my chance now to actually do what it is that I want to do. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I had no clue. But that's where I started, the creativity just started pouring out of me as I really learned how to relax and learned to look inside and go, what is it that I really want to do? And I became a coach. I knew I'd coached for years, like unprofessionally, like through my job, I'd been coaching people without really realizing it. So that was something that came naturally to me. And I always knew that I was good at writing, but I didn't know really what. And so I just started doing both. I got my coaching certification and I wrote 3 children's books. They just came out. And then I've published 2 of them. One more is coming out. And then more than anything, this passion behind like helping me, like you just said, like helping myself back then. How do you, especially it's the mums that I'm like, I really angle for. It's like those working mums or, even, stay at home mums, whatever you're doing, there's this, like, I think it's getting more and more pressure in terms of like having all these plates to juggle and all these things to do. And yet, are we doing what we want to do inside? Like, are we taking care of ourselves? So that's where this whole Dear Mama Bear piece has come from me. And I've got a picture book coming out for mums this year, because I just feel so passionately about, like you, about helping other women get to where they want to be in life, because they can do it.
Yeah.
They can absolutely do it.
Something that you wrote that resonated with me once, and I wanted to talk to you about, because it was when I was stuck in a rut and I didn't know it, and I was doing my 9 to 5 and I was living on autopilot. one of the first things that sort of opened my eyes a little bit was the question, how are you? And I am a very private person, but I'm also a very honest person. So if I'm not okay, it upsets. I'm not comfortable with saying that I'm not okay. Right. But when I felt all this stuff going on internally that was wrong, but felt private, I didn't feel like I could share. And so there was a period of time where that question would jar me. And I think it was the first warning sign for me that, like, people should be able to ask, how are you? And even if they're asking in passing and they don't care, people just walk past you in the kitchen, in the office, say, how are you? They don't care. I'd be like, oh, fine.
Yeah. If you only knew.
And I saw you write something about that same question in your writing once before. So I wanted you to tell me about your journey.
Same thing. I mean, it was one of those things that it becomes such an autopilot response that hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? And then you walk away going, so not fine, or like you just, and it became more and more, eye-opening for me, because I would just realize, like, internally, I can't answer that question. It was the same thing. Like, I'm scared to answer honestly how I am, because I've been carrying around this depression that I didn't even really know was there. Like, I had pushed it down so far by just being busy. I'm a busy mom. I'm overwhelmed. I'm working. And so all this stuff was going, and constantly going, that it wasn't until like COVID, until furlough, that when I actually started seeing a therapist, and she was like, no, but how are you? And that's when floods of tears came, and I was like, I'm not okay. And it took a long time, and it's still, like, I'm still going through it now, learning to say I'm not okay, and learning to say I need some help, and not asking for help with resentment in my heart, not saying it's very different, like, oh, I could do some help right now, or just genuinely saying, I'm not okay, here's why, and here's how you can help me. And I'm learning so much from that. And it sounds easy to say, but I know there are so many people that it's so hard to say, A, I'm not okay, and B, even sometimes I don't think you know what help you need until you start saying, I'm not okay. And then you'll start realizing what help, what help might look like. And it might just be a hug. Like, I actually met a friend today for brunch, and she just hugged me, literally and she was like, I know you need this. And I did, and it was like, but I think that's half the time we don't even realize what we need. And so answering that question, how are you, becomes really difficult, because you're like, well, if I say I'm not okay, then they're going to ask why, and so it's tricky. It's really tricky.
It's funny, you just actually reminded me of something that I had forgotten. In this period of time, I went to the doctor. I can't even remember what it was, but she was like, you've never had your blood test done. You never had, like, let's just do all the things that you do. And I was like, okay. And then so sort of halfway through the appointment, she's like, so how are you? And I was like, yeah, good. She's like, no, like, how are you? Yeah. And I just started crying. And
you're like, whoa, where did that come from?
And I had no idea. And I was saying to her through tears, no, I'm really okay.
She's like, all right, yeah. I think so many of us are like that,
Yeah. And it's something that I think as well, that sometimes when I'm, I get in that headspace of, what things that I can say that will trigger other people to realize that maybe they're stuck in a rut, et cetera, et cetera. And it reminded me of something that you just said then as well. It's not that we don't have amazing partners, and it's not that we don't love effort and have support. It's not that all of that stuff doesn't exist and we're not unhappy with that. There's just something about internally. And I think I put it down to, like, being in your purpose, like feeling purposeful and aligning yourself to activities that are really what you truly need, those boxes that you truly want. You need. I think that's it. So I think, like, you don't, it's not a feeling that, oh, I hate my husband and I hate my kids. No. Like, it's not like that. It's just
not like that.
Yeah.
I think yeah, and this is like, I love this conversation because that's what I'm realizing too, is there is a type of person, and particularly a type of woman who knows she wants more, like that knows she's maybe not living her purpose, but doesn't know it. So it's like this through feelings, through, you know, like, because like you said, for some people it's absolutely, you know, being a mum is everything, and that's wonderful, and that's absolutely fine, you know, for the people that works for, that's wonderful. There's another type of person, it's okay to want more. And I think that was the key, was like, I felt guilty because I wanted more, because I had these amazing boys, and I had the husband, and I had the life and everything, and we were making great money, and I had everything. I'd climbed up the corporate ladder. I was doing really well, but I still wanted more. And I think that was something that when I stopped, it was like I'd been holding my breath for all these years of just like, you know, like I'm doing it, but I'm not doing what's in here.
Yeah.
And that's what hit me, was I think that's what started to unravel, becoming unstuck, really, to what you're saying, is when I aligned to like, what is it that I actually really want? And that goes back to how am I? And that's why all those tears came, because I wasn't living my purpose. I wasn't living in alignment with what I am here to do, with what I was, you know, what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us don't, like, I think a lot of people are realizing that now. And I think it's starting to shift, as there are certain people that realize, you know what, I'm not doing what I want to do, what I'm meant to do. And that's maybe where this whole "how are you" comes back, question comes about, being honestly able to answer that.